This is The Minimum Commitment, film theory in small doses. Some violence leaves bruises. Other violence stays buried much deeper. Inside memory. Inside the body. Inside these spaces, people can no longer fully explain. After enough trauma, life stops arriving in a linear fashion. It arrives in fragments. I'm Don Lawler, film scholar, sound obsessive, and someone interested in stories where violence stops feeling cinematic and starts feeling psychological. Let's get into it. You Were Never Really Here, directed by Lynne Ramsay, dismantles nearly every illusion crime cinema depends on. There is no mythology surrounding violence here, no procedural coolness. Professional elegance is non-existent. Joe, played by Joaquin Phoenix, is not the controlled professional like Vincent in Collateral or Neil McCauley in Heat. He's already psychologically shattered, and Ramsay films him accordingly. Fragments of memory interrupt scenes without warning. Sounds drift in and out of consciousness. Violence arrives partially obscured and emotionally displaced. The film itself behaves traumatized. That's the key to Ramsay's formal approach. Trauma rarely follows a straight narrative. It surfaces in flashes, images, sounds, sensations. Joe embodies all of it as he moves through the film, carrying it inside of his body. Trauma theory examines how overwhelming experiences disrupt memory, identity, and emotional continuity. Trauma does not always return as coherent recollection. It resurfaces as fragmentation, intrusive images, broken associations, and emotional disorientation. You Were Never Really Here is constructed almost entirely from this fragmentation. Joe's memories never arrive cleanly. We see childhood abuse, war imagery, violence, water, plastic suffocation. All of these partial recollections contribute to a sense of instability. Even time feels damaged. We don't get trauma explained to us. We get trapped inside its rhythm. That's what makes the film emotionally overwhelming. Joe is one of the most unusual anti-heroes in modern crime cinema. Physically intimidating, violent, capable, but emotionally exhausted. He moves through New York City like someone handling unbearable psychological weight. His posture collapses inward. His breathing feels heavy. His silences feel wounded rather than mysterious. His violence lacks spectacle. Joe does not fight like an action hero. He survives like someone enduring pain. And yet, despite all this damage, Joe still chooses protection. That matters. The film refuses traditional hero mythology while preserving moral empathy. Joe rescues people in jeopardy because part of him still believes that protection matters, even as he himself feels beyond saving. That's why he resembles something closer to urban myth than a traditional vigilante fantasy. less Superman, more wounded guardian drifting through the wreckage of a broken city. The sound design in this film may be one of the most psychologically sophisticated uses of audio in modern cinema. Sound behaves emotionally instead of realistically. Songs cut off unexpectedly. Memories interrupt environmental noise. Dialogue drifts partially out of reach. The CCTV rescue sequence demonstrates this perfectly. Ramsay distances the audience from the violence by showing much of the scene through surveillance footage. But what makes the sequence extraordinary is the sound. A song plays throughout the house, yet each camera angle changes how we hear it. The audio echoes or falls behind itself. It fragments spatially. The soundscape becomes unstable because Joe's experience of violence has become unstable. We no longer experience the scene through objective reality. We experience fragmentation. Ramsay continues this throughout the film. One of the most devastating examples occurs when a corrupt law enforcement agent sings a song as he lies dying. When he stops singing, the music disappears with him. The soundscape itself recognizes death. Not just the audience, but the film itself. Even the score reflects fragmentation. It's atonal, percussive, broken. It sounds like damaged memory struggling to reorganize itself. The score becomes the audio equivalent of psychological trauma. New York City in this film feels completely different from Michael Mann's Los Angeles. Collateral presents Los Angeles as sprawling and emotionally detached. This New York feels compressed, layered, aged, and rusting. The city carries history physically inside its architecture. Dark hallways, industrial decay, old infrastructure buried beneath newer surfaces. Nothing feels emotionally open. The photography traps the audience inside intimate spaces. Close-ups dominate the film. Faces fill the frame and pain becomes unavoidable. We cannot emotionally distance ourselves from the characters Joe, Nina, or Joe's mother because Ramsay refuses visual escape. We are forced into proximity with suffering, and that intimacy makes the violence feel painful. Throughout the film, images of suffocation and drowning repeat constantly. Plastic bags over faces, water imagery, submersion, breathlessness. Trauma in the film feels bodily, not philosophical. The recurring imagery of suffocation suggests something larger happening beneath the surface. The world itself begins to feel difficult to breathe in. Violence thrives, corruption spreads, and predatory systems continue operating normally. Empathy and kindness struggle simply to survive. Joe moves through this world like someone constantly trying to rise above emotional drowning while being pulled back under repeatedly. And perhaps that's why the film hits so hard emotionally. Not because it shows violence, but because it shows what violence leaves behind inside people. This arc on the discipline of crime began with professionalism, control, procedure, identity through labor. You Were Never Really Here strips all of that away. Violence no longer feels mythic. It feels traumatic. The film rejects the fantasy that controlled violence leaves people emotionally untouched. Joe is not cool, composed, or detached. He is fragmented. And yet he still reaches toward connection, toward protection and compassion, even in small moments. That fragile humanity becomes the most powerful thing in the entire film. Lynne Ramsay's You Were Never Really Here frames violence as something that permanently alters the people forced to survive it, leaving psychological damage that continues long after the moment itself has passed. By the end of the film, what lingers is not brutality. It's exhaustion, the kind that comes after fighting too long in a world that refuses to see you. The quiet hope that damaged people might still find moments of connection before disappearing completely. That's your thought for the day. Minimum commitment, maximum meaning. See you next time. The Minimum Commitment is produced, recorded, and edited by Don Lawler. Music by Out of Flux.